Hey everyone, welcome to Virtual Vegfest Live, and my green screen disappeared. Oh, it's because I'm on my own. Oh, you'll see this really pretty background in a moment. It's like cool because it's black right now, but it's gonna be really pretty in a second. I'm Helene, and we're only on Thursdays through the summer, possibly through the fall, because I have a ton of events happening. Just added a sixth one today that'll happening between July and October. And plus a lot of travel too. So lots of things happening because the world is opening up. And let's hope that it stays open so we can do these events and everyone stays healthy. It's a new month. It's July. Haven't made any changes yet though. So contest will be happening. A new link. So take advantage of the fact that the June link is still up. If you haven't entered, you can go to virtualvegfest.com and hit enter the contest and you'll be entered for the June event. Haven't picked the winners yet. Haven't gotten to it today. Might be tomorrow. But I will post when we have the new link up, and you can win prize packs from Orgain, Follow Your Heart, Crofters Organics, Hodo Foods, Shroomeats, and Cinnaholic. Caveat for Cinnaholic is that you have to live within 50 miles of one. And thanks to Orgain for sponsoring all our live talks in June. And I still haven't decided who's going to sponsor the live talks in July, because if I had, everything I just said would have been updated. But Anthony Masiello is here today from New Jersey. Plant-Based Telehealth, transformation story for his life. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, you know to put them in the little box and we'll definitely address them. Super excited, huge fan of lifestyle medicine and the importance of helping people in their transition to a plant-based, a whole food plant-based lifestyle, the health benefits of that, the mental benefits of that. It's an all-encompassing difference for a person's life. And Anthony's going to share his story and how he started plant-based telehealth and what they're doing and how you can get help too without even leaving your home. Let's go get Anthony. Hey, how are you?
Hello, Helene. I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I am doing well. I'm glad that
And
you're
it was worth
here.
the Thank you.
Good.
It was worth the wait for your background. It does look
Oh yeah.
beautiful.
Thank you. I was like, wait, where is it? Each scene, it's like Ecamm's really cool. It has these different scenes, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, where'd my background go? That's okay.
It's
At least
back
it
now. It
wasn't.
looks really nice.
At least it wasn't a green screen. It would have been like,
Right.
I would have been like, this is so gross. But I'm like really happy that you're here and how we got connected on Facebook. Don't know how it happened because we haven't met in person, but I'm
Yeah.
really glad. I think it actually might have been your transformation story that hooked me in, and the plant-based
Oh,
telehealth is like an added bonus.
yeah.
So guess what? You get to tell everyone all about you and everything you do now.
Awesome. Thanks. And I feel the same way. I feel like my transformation is the thing that I'm most satisfied about, right? And in some ways, it's quite possibly the thing that has me still sitting here, from 18 years later. And on top of that, I'm really excited about plant-based health and what we're doing there in helping people to have access to doctors who understand the power and potential of lifestyle medicine and who understand the kind of focus of people who eat a vegan diet or people who are eating a plant-based diet and are able to support them on that rather than kind of question or put doubts or with misunderstandings around it, from more traditional kind of healthcare. So, yeah, I'm just excited in general.
Oh, that's great. So tell us your story.
Okay, so my story goes way back, and I won't drag it out too long. But at some point growing up, my parents split up. My mom lived in North Carolina. My mom and brother and I moved to North Carolina, and my dad stayed up here in New Jersey. And as I would go back and forth, as soon as the school year let out, I would drive. My mom would put me on a plane, and she would send me up to New Jersey, and I would spend my summer here in New Jersey, and then I would, at the end of the summer, I would fly back to North Carolina. And over one of those summers, something happened while I was in New Jersey, and I gained weight. Now, um, I didn't gain a ton of weight, but since I hadn't seen any of my friends from school for 2.5 or 3 months, however long the summer break was, it was noticeable. and they started talking about it. And as they started talking about it, it kind of became something that I was aware of. And, I think back on that sometimes, and I don't know if it would have been an issue or as big of an issue if it wasn't a topic, but for whatever reason, it was. And I continued to gain more weight. And then to the point where I wanted to, even as a kid, I would go on kind of diets or I would do things to try to lose weight. And usually that just involved keeping myself hungry or or maybe avoiding certain foods. Like there was a time I'm sure that I was avoiding bread. There was a time for sure that I was avoiding fats and butters. It was like, but it was never really, I never really followed a diet plan. I never really sought help. But what would happen was whatever I was doing, or I would skip desserts, something as simple as that. And I would lose weight for a little while, but then it always came back. And even at a young age, it always came back with more. So I kept getting, bigger and bigger, and I just continue to accept this identity as, the big guy. I'm also quite tall. I'm 6'4". I don't remember how tall I was when I graduated high school, but it was over 6 foot. So I was big and I was tall, and I just identified as the big guy. And sometimes I would, of course, I would joke about that to try to take some of the attention off of it. Or when I was meeting new people, I would make a joke about it. So I made sure that they were aware that I knew that I was overweight and that I knew I was big, so that it didn't have to be, I don't know why, but that's kind of what we do. Like we take our flaws and we tell them to people right away so that they know we're aware of them rather than wondering if they notice. I mean, of course they notice. But anyway, it was looking back and reflecting on it, that's how I grew up. And if we fast forward to 2005, my wife and I had I had lived in several different places. My wife and I had just moved back to New Jersey from Maryland, where we were both working down there. But we moved back to New Jersey but in 2002 because we wanted to start a family. So we had our first child, our first son, Evan, in 2004. And then in 2005, she was pregnant with my second son, Henry. And I went for life insurance policy. And I got a letter back and it was straight denied. And I was denied a 20-year term life insurance policy at age 33. And it really scared me. I work in informatics and I study computer science. And I know enough that at this insurance company, it's not like there's some person in a room somewhere that says, no, we've written enough insurance policies this month. We're not going to write any more. Just deny everyone else. It was really more the fact that they took all of my medical records and my current health stats and they plugged them into a computer, and the computer, kind of spit out an answer for them that said bad bet. This one might not make it. Meaning that they might have to pay out on this insurance policy. So they didn't even want to put me in a high risk category. They just said, no, we're not going to insure you for 20 years. So I kind of took that as almost like a death sentence. I mean, I took it as a death sentence that now I'm not doing math right now in my head, but I'm like 17 years into that 20 years, right now. So I'm feeling victorious because I think I'm safe for the next 3 years. So I think I proved them wrong, but I'm so grateful that at that moment in time I accepted that I guess that judgment that they made on me and looked at myself and said, what can I do about it? Because if I was in a different mood, I really might have said, oh, these guys don't know what they're talking about, or that's whatever, that's BS. I'm just going to go to another company and apply for that. But I said, this is a scary situation and I need to figure it out. And the most important thing that did for me was it made me take a really super careful look at what my life was really like. And when I did that, there were some things that I wasn't so happy with. By this time I was 360 pounds. I had a 54-inch waist. I got migraine headaches about once a week, the kind where I would just have to hide out in a dark room and hope to fall asleep and then hope I woke up without it. Um, I was on medication for high blood pressure. My doctor had been threatening to put me on medication for high cholesterol. It wasn't, it was like in the 220s or something. It wasn't like they weren't insisting yet, but it was a topic every time I went to the doctor. And I had eczema on my fingers. I had psoriasis on the back of my neck. And I had just been diagnosed with sleep apnea. I just had all of these things that were kind of unacceptable. And yeah, and then there were the regular life stuff, like not being able to buy clothes in the stores, having to mail order everything. Or when I would travel for work and I would travel by myself, I would have to take a flight somewhere and I would be walking down the aisle of an airplane by myself, and I could feel, anyone who had an empty seat next to them, they would watch me as I approached. And then if I passed them, I felt the sighs of relief sometimes, when I would walk past people, because the truth is I just didn't fit into the seat, but what could I do about it? If I was traveling by myself, maybe I could have, if I was paying for my own trip, maybe I could have gotten a different seat or a different ticket or even if I had to buy two seats, which would have been a whole nother issue. But here I was sitting in one seat, so I would find my spot and I would just hover over the armrest, and then I would just squish myself down. I would try to make myself as small as possible, not to overflow, and I would sit there. And then when the flight attendant did their little demonstration with the buckle, I used to have to ask for that demonstration belt to extend my seat belt, just so that I could buckle up so that the pilot would take off on the plane. So there were a whole bunch of like kind of real life things that that I wasn't willing to settle with anymore. So needless to say, I was super motivated, but I didn't know what to do because I tried to lose weight before and it never worked. So I set a New Year's resolution to lose 50 pounds over the course of 2006. By now it was like October, November. Why in the world would I start a new diet in October or November, right? I need to wait till January. That's just how I am, I guess, or that's how many of us are. I'll say it that way. So I set the New Year's resolutions for no sweets, no soda, and I was basically going to eat less, or in what my family would say, watch what you eat. And I would watch what I ate until and with a goal of losing 50 pounds for the year. I said I probably should be able to lose 5 pounds a month. And, with 12 months, that's 60 pounds. I give myself a little bit of freedom there for a couple of months. And that's where I came up with my 50 pounds. So I did that. I stopped eating any sodas. I stopped eating any sweets or drinking any sodas. And by March of 2006, I hadn't lost a single pound. And that was really depressing because that really made me feel helpless at that point. And but luckily I was still motivated and I still wanted to figure out what to do. So I started actually looking for weight loss books. And I think it's probably important to note that I was already vegetarian. So I went vegetarian in the 90s and I actually lost quite a bit of weight. But it stayed off actually for a little while, for about 2 years, until I guess I figured out that ice cream is technically vegetarian because I wasn't vegan, and cheese pizza is technically vegetarian. And then they started coming out with a lot of products in the late 90s, where I could now have breakfast sausages and I could have vegetarian chicken sandwiches and veggie burgers and veggie hot dogs and all of these things.
Morningstar.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I had a freezer full, but I gained the weight back, eating that kind of stuff. When I first went vegetarian in, I think it was 94, all I had was like stir fry and rice. I bought a wok literally. I would go buy vegetables. I would take them home, cook them, put them over rice, and add some soy sauce or some tamari or even some jarred Szechuan sauce or something. And it was actually tasty and it was fine and it worked, right? It helped me lose weight, but I deviated from that point. But I mentioned that now because I didn't want to go back. And in the early 2000s, it was still all about a high protein diet, or it was about cutting out the carbs, and so all of the kind of common weight loss was centered around that. And I was determined to find something that wasn't. So I searched. I was just searching on the internet, and I was searching for vegetarian weight loss because that was still important to me. And I found Dr. Fuhrman's book, Eat to Live, and I just found it on Amazon. And when I saw it, I looked at the cover and it said fast and sustained weight loss. This is the first edition of his book, and it said that. It doesn't say that anymore, but the first edition said fast and sustained weight loss. I was like, oh, that's cool. That's what I want. And then I started reading the comments, and in the comments, people weren't talking about losing weight. People were talking about getting healthy. And I kind of had an epiphany at that moment. I was like, oh, I don't really want to just lose weight. I'm going to be a dad now, or I'm a father now, and I'm going to have two kids soon, and I need to be able to take care of them. I need to be healthy. So I think that's the first time I ever really associated my size with my health, and that was kind of powerful for me. So I bought Dr. Fuhrman's book, and if anyone knows of Dr. Fuhrman, it basically says eat vegetables, fruits, beans, nuts, and some nuts and seeds, and almost nothing else. And he gets a little bit more prescriptive than that, specifically for people who are going for weight loss or for heart disease or for diabetes. But at the time, that's the message I got from it. I said, okay, vegetables, fruits, beans, nuts, and seeds, and almost nothing else, or nothing else. And the emphasis was on the more vegetables you eat and the more fruit that you eat, the healthier you will be. And that's also the first time I ever connected eating more healthy foods makes you healthy. So it wasn't about restriction. It was about eating more. So I just started right away, and I wasn't doing a very good job at being, what he would call a nutritarian, or what we would now call being, a whole food, plant-based vegan. But I started, and in just 2 months later, so in May of 2006, we brought my son Henry home from the hospital. He was born on May 2nd, and by that time I'd lost 30 pounds. Just 2 months after buying Eat to Live. I even went back and I looked at like my Amazon receipt or whatever. I can log in to see my past orders, and it was just in 2 months I lost 30 pounds. And I was like, this is amazing. So I was into it, and I just continued. So I continued for the rest of the year. And if we fast forward through to December, I had lost a total of 90 pounds by December of that year, 2006. And I was off all my medications. I no longer was having headaches, and I had more energy than I ever had in my life. So I was super excited. But it was the end of the year again. So I said, I'll set another New Year's resolution. And that resolution was to start exercising. So I think that's another point that I want to kind of emphasize. So I lost that first 90 pounds purely on what I was eating. With a newborn and a toddler at home, a full-time job, a commute, it's not like I had tons of time, but now I just had so much energy that I just wanted to get out there and I wanted to do stuff. So I decided to start running. And what that looked like for me was I started walking on a treadmill we had in the basement. It's New Jersey in January. It's kind of not that great outside. But every night I would spend 30 minutes on the treadmill. And it was just 30 minutes, but I would start walking. And then when I got warmed up a little bit, I would run. And then I would run for maybe 10 or 15 seconds. And then as soon as I was out of breath, I would just, hit the button down and I would just walk. And then when I got my breath back, I would just put it back up and I would just start running. And then, before you know it, I could go 30 seconds and then I could go a minute. and then I could run one lap on the little virtual track that goes around on the treadmill. I was like, oh, I made it a quarter mile, and then I would take a break, and then I would do another one, and I just stuck to that 30 minutes and just trying to make it more about running and less walking, and um, then I could run a mile. Then I could run a mile and take a break and run another mile, and and I loved it. And then in March, I ran my first 5K race outside with other people, and and I thought that was like the coolest thing in the world because I had been used to being on the sidelines with so many things in life because I didn't fit. You know, like when I went to amusement park, I didn't fit on all the rides, right? When when my wife would go, she would run. She actually ran a marathon her first marathon the year we got married. So I would go with her to 5K races and 10K races in her marathon, but I would always be the one holding the stuff, hold her bag, hold her shirt, hold her, extra water bottle, whatever she needed. But now this time it was me, and I was going up there and getting my number and putting it on my shirt. And then I was rushing to the start line and dropping my stuff somewhere and doing all that. And at that point I was hooked, and I knew that my life was going to consist of, eating a very healthy, whole food, plant-based vegan diet and being physically active because it was fun. So I ran that 5K race, and it was a blast, and I just continued running more. I just kept, with that whole concept, I started having to go more than a half hour because I could run for a whole half hour now. So I would just kept running further and further. And in September of 2007, two things happened. I ran my first half marathon, 13.1 miles, just 9 months after not being able to run for more than 15 or 20 seconds. And I ran it in an hour and 47 minutes,
That's awesome.
which is a pretty decent time, right? For a first time half marathoner. Someone who 2 years ago was 360, 2 years earlier was 360 pounds and not able to do very much at all. So I was psyched about that. And the other thing that happened is my weight loss stopped. And it stopped just as suddenly as it started. And at that point, I weighed 200 pounds. And if we fast forward to now, now I hover around 210 pounds. And it's been like that over the past 15 years. And it doesn't really fluctuate. And that's just, that's incredible for me. So it's gone for good.
That's amazing. Kudos to you for
Thanks.
all of that. I totally understand the start of the running thing because
Yeah.
over COVID, I took out my Wii. It's like
Oh,
my story. I took out my Wii and I was like, let's play Wii. I was like, because we're home.
what else are you
We're
going to
not,
do?
right. So, and I have Wii Fit and I bought some extra games as well. There's a little running thing in there and I don't run. I was like,
Oh,
and this is not
yeah,
something I've ever done. I walk, I swim, I
right.
don't run. So in the little Wii thing, it has like that short track. So I was like, okay, I'll do this. It's maybe like 2.5 minutes,
Yeah,
and I'm running in my bedroom in place. And I made it. I was like,
you did?
exactly that. You start and you go, okay. And now I liked it so much over COVID that I bought a treadmill that
Wow.
I'm on every single day as long
Yeah,
as I have move goals and stuff that I hit. But I'm like on the treadmill and you start out walking and you want to run. Something
yeah,
inside of you goes, let's just go faster.
yeah,
And I do that. It's exactly what I do. I run, I can run the full track, little quarter mile.
yeah.
I'm up to being able to run probably a full mile.
That's
But
fantastic.
I can't do it outdoors because I have a bad back, so the ground
Okay.
hurts me. It like really
Yeah,
hurts. So I'm full on love my treadmill. We went away for 9 days in hotels. I was in the fitness center every day.
that's awesome.
And I don't like their treadmills. It feels like you're running on ground. So I
I
did the
just told someone
elliptical.
yesterday, I said, I'm a treadmill snob for sure. Like, I only like certain treadmills, but
100% understand. It's like it's
yeah,
padded. Mine feels like it's padded. Theirs
right.
felt like it was concrete. And I was like, this
Oh,
this feels terrible. So I'll walk instead of run, but I did the elliptical instead. And I
yeah,
like ellipticals. I was like, oh, if we don't have the room for elliptical, but I would use one. And
right.
I totally hear you because it's those the overall lifestyle medicine isn't about just what you eat.
Right.
It's lifestyle for a reason. It's your health, your mental well-being, your physical exercise, what you put into your body, how you fuel yourself, and all those factors combine to take care of you so that you can avoid those diseases like diabetes, heart disease, strokes, cancer, all those
Yep.
things that are so prevalent in our society, especially our society in America, in the United States. You know, what you eat, and you're not really touching on the climate part of this,
Right.
but with 114 degrees in Portland, Oregon, how can you ignore that it was 100 plus degrees in Canada this week, or last week, because it's new week, like this week, maybe it
Right.
was this week, I don't even know, it's what's Thursday, this week.
Right.
And we can fix that, everything about our bodies and the whole planet, by what we consume in our what we consume.
Yeah.
It seems so simple. It's,
Yeah.
I
It's
mean,
simple, but it's not necessarily the message that people want to hear. And in our, I know you're a long time vegetarian, and also a long time vegan, and hopefully plant based eater, and whatever we want to call it, um, or they all overlap anyway. But we learned how to be different, right? And we learned how to be okay with being different. And everyone who we expect to change now needs to develop that sense of peace with being different, whether it's around family, whether it's around friends, or even if it's just out in public. Like if we're traveling on the road and we pull over to find something to eat somewhere, we're different. And we don't have to broadcast that fact, but we do. It is a challenge sometimes to navigate menus, or to find something that we'll enjoy and that we have to eat. So
yeah,
yeah.
I'm gonna tell a little story I haven't told on this before. I lived in California for a while, and when I moved there, you can get a job literally walking off the plane. So I did. I was in Silicon Valley, and I started working for this company. We had a business lunch, and the business lunch was at an Asian restaurant. Um, what are those things called? Where they walk around with the little trays where you can pick stuff.
Oh, is it dim
Really,
sum or
like
something?
dim sum. Yeah, it's
Okay.
not vegetarian. I was vegetarian, not vegetarian friendly at all. But the main thing was that the menu was not in English,
Oh,
and the client was ordering for us, and I was incredibly uncomfortable. I was
yeah.
relatively like mid 29, 28, 29, probably
Right.
29, and I just I don't like being the focus when it comes to food.
Yeah.
I just don't like, at that point. Now I don't care as much. But then
Right.
I didn't know what I could eat, and I had to explain, like, I'm vegetarian and I can't eat any of this dim sum because it's all meat. And they had to like make something special, and because it was business, because it was a work lunch.
Right.
It was incredibly uncomfortable, and I kind of vowed at that point to have the conversation ahead of time as opposed to in the moment. So there's not the she's so
Yeah.
difficult, she can't eat this. Why can't she just pick out the meat, or whatever it is that everyone thinks or says,
Right.
whatever. It was just horrible. And and I kind of coach people in those scenarios that communication is your friend.
Right.
Just communicate what your needs are ahead of time, and then it maybe eat first.
Yeah.
So,
Just don't be starving.
right,
Kind of
right.
push some
Sometimes,
stuff around and don't eat.
right. Sometimes that's you don't know if people are actually going to respect your diet or
Right.
your choices, your ethics, and
Right.
they won't have anything. And as much as lettuce is great, it's not filling.
Right.
So
It's true.
if you're going to be somewhere for 6 hours and all you have are carrots and iceberg lettuce, then eating prior is a great idea, or something in the car.
Right.
Trail mix
Right.
in your purse, just eating like little nuts, little seeds.
And I think this probably does, this I think clearly doesn't apply to you, but especially when someone's transitioning, that's such an important thing, because if you're committed to changing your lifestyle in that way and being vegetarian, you want to kind of avoid these super high stress situations. But like someone like yourself who's been vegetarian for so long, there's probably low risk of you going, eating something. It's probably just a risk of you being uncomfortable for a period of time because you are like, very, very hungry because you haven't eaten in hours and hours. But
Yeah.
with somebody who's changing, especially someone like in my situation where I was really trying to lose weight for health reasons specifically, um, it's it's when you put yourself in those super challenging situations, it's easy to kind of slip, and that becomes dangerous in the beginning.
And that is a lot of people, like they'd make the decision to they make the decision to be vegan or whole food plant based, but then they go out to eat and they eat whatever they want. And that's
Oh,
okay. It's that's if you're transitioning, you'll get there. And Susan's a great person for this because she's actually working with people, and she's a big challenge for some of her clients because
oh,
it is a big challenge, and she's very supportive of that concept of don't beat yourself up
right,
because you went out to eat and you did go backwards. The best thing you can do is wake up the next day or the next meal and get right back on it, as
right,
opposed to just going, all right, well, I
right,
slipped up, so this is forever. It's
right.
not.
So I failed. Maybe I'll start over one day. Yeah, yeah. Don't let it become
Right.
that.
The
Yeah,
the
and
day is like that day.
right, exactly. It's the next bite, really.
Yep.
And then also it's worth reflecting a little bit and just learning on that. Again, not to beat yourself up, just to say, hey, what could I do in a situation like that? Outside of the moment, we can make sometimes more clear decisions or more supportive decisions for ourselves. So exactly some of the things you said, oh, I could eat ahead of time, or I could just skip it and get something later, or keep an apple in my backpack, or like something. For the next time to try to get a little bit better. And I really don't like using the words better or worse or good or bad, but I don't have an effective word to use um, for that. But it's worth learning from all of those experiences, and we won't learn from them if we don't have them experiences to begin with. So it's all part of a process, and I agree with you and with Susan fully that it's not definitely not something to create stress over.
No, it's our choices, and one of those choices, which is a fabulous choice, is you don't have to go.
Yeah,
That is an option. As much as you think it's not, it
right.
really is because you can't be forced into doing. I don't care if it's business, personal, whatever it is. If you don't feel comfortable, you don't necessarily have to. But sometimes it's important to go into something when you are uncomfortable
Yeah. It depends
because
on
that's how you learn, you know.
yeah, it depends on what you're ready for and what you're doing. But the most important is to support ourselves, right?
Yep.
Do whatever is best for ourselves first.
Exactly. And as Susan just said,
Yeah.
progress, not perfection. We can't
Yeah,
be, nobody's
exactly.
perfect. Like, nobody's
Right.
perfect. So, I
Right.
mean, even whole food plant based, you eat cake. It doesn't mean you've
Right.
just screwed up your whole food plant based diet because you had
Right.
cake. It's
Right.
like, okay, don't eat cake every day.
Right.
But I was like,
Yeah. Or
so
eat a little less cake, eat a little more something else. That's all.
exactly. And that I think another part of this is you started out by saying I didn't eat sweets, I didn't do this, I didn't eat bread. You limited foods and then you learned that it's not about limiting. It's about the choices of foods that you make. And the fact is you can eat every food that's whole food, plant-based or vegan, and it's how much of it that you actually eat, and the fact that you gave up soda. Your 50 pounds was like just giving up soda will drop probably 50 pounds from the size of
Yeah.
your body in the course of a year.
Yeah, and before I read Eat to Live and before I like learned these concepts, um, the only way I knew to, or I thought I knew, and I was unsuccessful, so I didn't really know, to lose weight or to was to exclude, right? Was to cut things out, and then as soon as I shifted that. And I didn't say what to exclude, and I said what to include, meaning more vegetables, fruits, beans, nuts, and seeds. I mean, I'd never ate breakfast before. And I started just having like tons of fruit for breakfast. And when I say tons of fruit, there was a fruit bar at work. So I would go and I would weigh, and I would have like a pound to a pound and a half of cut pineapple and melons and berries and whatever they had there. I would just fill this container and I would have to pay for it by weight. And it was like a pound and a half. And I went from zero food for breakfast to a pound and a half of fruit for breakfast. I started really thinking about how can I eat more fruits and how can I eat more vegetables. And that's what worked for me. And I'm sure it naturally displaced a lot of other maybe less nutrient rich calories that I was eating in the past. But that wasn't the focus. The focus was how do I eat more fruits and vegetables?
No, that's amazing. A pound to start your day with a pound of fruit. I mean,
Yeah.
that's if
I mean, it's not,
people.
I mean, it's probably like an apple and a half, right? Or maybe like two bananas or something. Like, I don't know. I haven't weighed like, whole pieces of fruit, but they had these little clamshell containers and that's what I would fit in there.
That's a a pound of food is a decent amount
Yeah.
of food, and what some people don't eat in fruits and vegetables maybe in the course of a week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, someone who's not eating fruits and vegetables. I
Yeah.
did I looked into it once because um, I ate a whole cantaloupe one day for dessert. And what
Wow.
happened was I just cut it in half and I grabbed a spoon and I just started eating, I got rid of the seeds and I just ate one half and I was like, oh, that was a really good cantaloupe. And then I just went and ate the other half. And a whole cantaloupe, and a cantaloupe, I mean, that has to weigh 2 or 3 pounds,
Hmm.
right? So that's a lot of fruit. But I looked it up and a whole cantaloupe has about as many calories as 1.5 bananas. And if if
Wow.
you if you look, I mean, it's not absurd to eat 1.5 bananas,
No, it's
right?
like
But it's
150 calories for one
right,
and a half bananas. Yeah.
yeah. And so a cantaloupe, I think a whole entire cantaloupe is around the same number of calories as 1.5. I forget what it was, but I looked it all up, and it's less than 200 calories. And I'm like, think about those snack packs in the vending machine that are whatever 100 calories or 200 calories, and it's like all cookies and stuff. Like I could have had a half a cantaloupe, where I could have these little, this little processed thing, which we don't even know what's in it. um, you know, it's so even though I was having that pound and a half of fruit, it was a lot of fiber, but it really wasn't a high calorie breakfast. It probably wasn't more than like 250 calories for breakfast, which on occasions when I did have breakfast before, it would be an egg and cheese sandwich on rye bread, right?
Right.
Um, and with I'm sure it was cooked with plenty of butter, and there was probably butter put on the bread before they put that together, and I guarantee that's like probably 5 times the number of calories that fruit. So even if I replaced that fruit every day with one sandwich a week or something, I was probably still winning the battle on the calorie front.
Oh, for sure. Oh,
Yeah.
it definitely. That's a really good point because a main part of the psychological part of losing weight and maintaining weight is that a pound of meat and a pound of broccoli and how much you get to eat comparatively. A pound of broccoli is a lot of broccoli. And if you ate that pound of broccoli, you'd be really full as opposed to that pound of meat, which is tiny.
Right.
It's a small
Right.
amount of food, and you're
Yeah.
not going to be full. You're going to want your potatoes and like everything else like that goes with that in your meal, and your calorie count, your fat count, and your health count goes way down with that
Yeah.
broccoli. Not that I'm saying that you should eat broccoli 100% for your meal, but you can eat a lot of
But why
it.
not?
Right.
But
I mean,
occasionally,
100.
why not?
Right, is that well? That's true. 100 calories of broccoli compared to 100 calories of meat is actually the actual
Yeah.
thing. It's like the count of like
Right.
100 calories of meat's like this big, like
Right.
broccoli is like my background.
I know.
So
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, so
Yeah.
you didn't just stop with this.
Yeah. So then I wanted to. So then I was living my new life, and I was just absolutely loving it. And I was working in pharmaceutical research at the time, and I would be walking around our huge campus here in New Jersey, which was like 500 acres, and I think there were like 8,000 or 8 to 10,000 people who worked on this campus. And everything I read as I continued reading more and more and more about the benefits of a plant-based diet and about the kind of power of lifestyle medicine, And reading stuff from some of the authors in our world, in the vegetarian world, in the plant-based world, and also even reading things that would come out from like the American Heart Association and from the CDC and the World Health Organization. And as these things are coming out, like I just thought to myself, probably 80% of what we were doing in pharmaceutical research was only to allow people to live unhealthy lifestyles. We're basically giving them a free ticket so that they don't have to make lifestyle changes. They could just take this pill. Their numbers would change. Sometimes, often, maybe, I guess their health outcomes would change, but their numbers would certainly change, and it would make them feel like it was okay to continue living, making these unhealthy choices in their life. And I was like, if we didn't have these medications, people would be forced to figure out another way to do it. Not that I think medication is bad. The blood pressure medication that I was on is probably was critical in letting me feel well enough to make these changes myself. But I said, well, I would really love to help people to prevent disease or improve health outcomes from disease or even reverse disease, rather than continue just working on drug development. So I didn't know what that looked like either. I come up with these ideas, and then I have to figure out how to do them. But I come up with I don't come up with a plan necessarily first. So I was pretty happy with my the way it fits into my career progression. My first job was at the National Institutes of Health, and I was working on understanding disease. I was working at the Human Genome Research Institute during the time of the sequencing of the human genome, and it was just a fascinating place to be. And they were trying to understand better the human body and disease so that people could live healthier. Then when I moved to New Jersey, I was fascinated with the idea of now actually contributing towards the therapies, so when people are sick, how to make them better. And I was ready for the next change, which is how to help people just kind of avoid these diseases and problems to begin with. Like, let's just stay healthy and get healthy. So I started sharing my story everywhere I could. And I know that's not directly helping people with what the information that they need to get healthy, but my idea was that I could motivate and help to inspire people to make some changes for themselves. And I was excited about that. So I was doing that on a volunteer basis. I built up a bit of a community for kind of supporting people who were living this lifestyle and felt different, so that we could all come together and have a place to feel normal. And that was fun. But I always wanted to do more. But I was trying to figure out, how am I going to support my family and help people to get and stay healthy when I wasn't a doctor and I didn't have a big coaching clientele or anything like that. So I just kind of kept exploring. And then my wife, I brought home the book, Marie Kondo's book, the art, I forget what it's called, The Simple Art of Tidying Up, or something like that. And it's a book about kind of prioritizing the things in your life and eliminating clutter, and how that kind of opens up freedom and opportunity for us. And my wife and I liked it, and we started folding our shirts differently, and we got rid of some clothes that we didn't wear anymore, and little things like that. But it kind of sparked this idea. And then my wife watched a documentary called The Minimalists. And these are people who try to live, or they live with very few items. And I think they can each count them, like maybe they each own 30 things or less than that. That includes all their clothes, all their shoes, their vehicle, if they have a vehicle, I don't even remember. But like everything they own, like it's like 30 things, or it's stuff that can be fit into one space. And we had a big house, we had a lot of property, and we had all the things we needed. My barn was full of stuff that we needed to take care of this big house and this big property. And then I had to have tools to take care of the stuff that I had to take care of the property. And we just had a lot of stuff. And it was like this kind of machine that kept me on these rails. I needed to make a certain level of income to be able to afford to maintain all of this and still be able to go on vacation with my family and my kids once in a while and think about preparing for college. So anyway, just to kind of speed it up, my wife said, let's just become minimalists. And we did our best version of that. We sold everything we could sell. We donated the stuff that we couldn't sell, and we got rid of this. We had to throw away the stuff that wouldn't be accepted for donation. And we went from living in like a 4,000 square foot home on 6.5 acres of property to now we live in I think this place is 1,200 square feet. And it's 2 bedrooms with 4 of us, and my kids are each almost 6 foot tall now. And we have 1 shower, and we have 1.5 bathrooms, so we have 1 shower for all of us. But what we did is we cut out all of those things that were kind of holding us down. And what I mean by that is mostly for us, it was about financial freedom. So now we have no more bills. And I could look for a different kind of work, meaning. So in August of 2018, I left Novartis, my pharmaceutical job, and I started a certification program for health coaching, and I just started exploring. What am I going to do to help a lot of people? I love the idea of coaching because I can help directly. I can help some people, but I wanted to look for how am I going to help thousands and thousands of people and get this out there for more. So I didn't know what that was going to be, so I just continued exploring, and I enjoyed coaching some clients. I ended up getting my national board certification in health coaching, and I still enjoy coaching a few clients. I don't coach many, maybe 4 to 6 clients at any time are kind of on my list. And then I was working with Dr. Lori Marbus building some educational tools. And that was kind of fun. I liked the potential that educational tools or online trainings could do as far as reaching people. But I wasn't excited about kind of building these courses. I realized that building these courses and stuff, the work was really marketing. It's really a marketing job, and you have and that's wasn't why I was necessarily in it. So it was fine. And then I remember we were traveling in Colorado, and I had been thinking about this idea for telemedicine. My background is computer science and technology. I spent the last 5 years of my career at Novartis in business operations. And I was just looking at everything, and I'm like, people can't find doctors who understand a vegan lifestyle, or people can't find doctors who understand a whole food plant-based lifestyle. I mean, I don't know how many people that I've talked to went to their doctor, and their doctor says, where are you getting your protein? Or where are you getting your calcium? I mean, it's real. They're being asked these kinds of questions, and that's not necessarily helpful for people. And it's certainly not helpful for the person who their cholesterol, is up around 280 or something. And the doctor's toolkit is, here, I have a drug to prescribe to you. I can't, they can't talk to them about what they're eating. Or the newly diagnosed pre-diabetic that, it starts on medication, or is warned that they're going to go on medication, but doesn't get the lifestyle education. And at the same time, I would be at all these conferences for plant-based nutrition, and we would see these doctors share these stories of people recovering their health, right? Or sometimes I would be sharing my story, and then a doctor would be presenting why that worked. And then someone in the audience would always raise their hand, and they would say, I'm so-and-so, and I'm dealing with this, and where can I find a doctor who can help me? And the answer is very unknown. It depends. Where do you live? Can you travel to see one of these kind of celebrity docs who sees patients occasionally, or can you can you try to find someone local? But even if you find a local plant-based doctor, maybe it's that they're working in an emergency room. They're not really taking appointments. It was really hard. So I started looking at the technology. Do platforms exist to do telemedicine? and how can all of this work? So it was really ripe. I felt like the need was there in the community and the technology to support it was there. So I pitched it to Dr. Lori Marbus. I said, we need to start a telemedicine company. And she said, you're crazy. She said, do you know how much work that is? And I said, I think it's a lot of work, but I've been thinking about it for a while and I'm so excited about it. Like, I loved that it was complementary in that it was, these services don't exist. So it's not like we're trying to do something that someone else is doing. And it's so necessary. It's good for every coach out there to be able to have a doctor that they can refer a client to who's trying to make these changes. And the doctor's message will be in line with what the coach is teaching them. And I just thought that the potential to help tons of people to get off to lower medications or get off medications or prevent the need for medications and just live happier, healthier lives was incredible. So together, Dr. Marbus and I started Plant-Based Telehealth. We started working on it full time I started working on it full time in about July of 2019, and we were trying to get her seeing patients before the end of the year. And we missed it. We missed the deadline for some technical reasons and stuff like that. So she started seeing patients in March of 2020. So we literally launched with COVID, and which I wasn't too excited about because early on in COVID, people were really worried about how am I going to survive, not how am I going to improve my health necessarily for the long term. I mean, looking back, it's a wonderful opportunity for people to get healthy because we learned that people who were very healthy were able to kind of recover from and people with comorbidities had a hard time with COVID. So, and the other thing COVID did do for us is it kind of normalized telemedicine. Like telemedicine was a bit of an uncertain thing before COVID came. It was kind of cutting edge and people didn't really, we thought we were going to have to convince people that telemedicine was real and that lifestyle medicine was real. And instead, COVID helped us with the telemedicine being real. And we just have to now continue to convince people that you can make lifestyle changes that can significantly, dramatically improve your health and improve these conditions if someone is sick. So we added on shortly after that. We added on Dr. Chris Miller. Then we added on Dr. Clapper, and all three of them started getting licensed in additional states. And by the end of last year, I think we were just missing Massachusetts. We had all the states covered except Massachusetts, and now Dr. Marbus has, she has that license as well. So now anyone in any state in the United States, including Washington, D.C., now has access to a doctor who understands a vegan lifestyle, a plant-based diet, and the power and potential of healing through lifestyle medicine. And I just couldn't be more proud than having that out there for people. You literally just go to Plant-Based Telehealth and anyone, they also do international consultations. So literally anyone on the planet can have an appointment at plantbasedtelehealth.com.
That's super impressive.
Thanks.
I love
It
when
still is
people
a lot
have
of work.
ideas. Well, yeah. Every great idea is a lot of
Right.
work, but the fact is you're doing it.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so
How
we're
many?
excited. It's going great. So we have a couple thousand patients who have been seeing the doctors are staying busy. They're doing a few hundred appointments a month right now, and we're really focusing on raising awareness and letting people know that we're here and that we exist. And it's going fantastic. We already have some incredible success stories right now. I judge what I do every day based on how embarrassed I am for not having done it yet, and I'm embarrassed that we don't have our patient testimonials featured on the website, but they show up in our newsletter. We put out a monthly newsletter, and we include patient testimonials, and we have some incredible endorsements from people like Dr. Esselstyn and Dr. Campbell and Dr. Fuhrman and Dr. Katz and and all of these incredible doctors who support this lifestyle medicine movement, and also realize that now there's an easy answer for people who want to find a doctor who can help them in this way.
And And to put more amazingness into this, you have joined forces with PlantPure Nation.
Yes. Yeah. And PlantPure Nation is an incredible partner because they have the PlantPure RX, which is a 10-day immersion program. And it includes daily lessons. So you watch videos and you read articles, and they have beautiful PDF documents that tell you how to shop, and they give you a cookbook and a DVD of the PlantPure Nation, which is an incredibly inspiring film. And um, we run that immersion jointly with them, so that anyone who joins the immersion then has an appointment with a doctor of plant-based telehealth to start, because it's important for people when they're going to make that kind of change to to know what to expect medically, especially if someone is diabetic, or if they're on any kind of medication for blood glucose, or if someone has high blood pressure and they're medicated for high blood pressure, because we've seen over time that people heal really quickly. And if you're on blood pressure medication and you naturally lower your blood pressure, you run the risk of standing up, getting lightheaded, and falling over and bumping your head. And what's the point in getting super healthy just so that you can, like bang your head on the curb or on the sidewalk or something, you know? So these changes do have to be done responsibly, and that's why we love partnering with that. And it's fantastic for the patients, because I think I even didn't mention this. They have these daily lessons, but then they also have these meal starters from PlantPure. So the meal starters make it easy. I'm not great at describing them, but I remember Hamburger Helper from like way back. And Hamburger Helper was a box of seasonings and pasta, and you brought it home and you added hamburger meat to it.
Yep.
So the PlantPure Nation meal starters are like veggie helpers. It's like they have all the seasonings, they have all the dry ingredients, the beans. Some of them are pasta dishes. They have all those dry ingredients, and you take them home and you add broccoli and carrots and corn. And what I love about it is you can add the vegetables that are your favorite. If you have fresh asparagus, you don't have to go buy broccoli to make the thing. You just use asparagus, you throw it in there. If you don't like peppers, you leave them out. But they have all the seasonings and stuff to make it into really good meals, and we see fantastic results. We don't have them all compiled on the website from the first few groups who came through yet, but everyone, even people who are already vegetarian, had improvements in their cholesterol, in their blood pressure. They lost weight if they were overweight. So it's a really nice program, and it really works.
Yeah, and Kim Campbell had a hand
Yeah.
in creating those. And
Yeah.
Nelson and Kim live in Mebane, which is not too far from where I live in North Carolina. So they're part
Yeah.
of our community. Nelson has been on. I absolutely love. I love the whole family. Dr. T. Colin Campbell is incredible.
Yeah.
And he's been to our events. I've emceed and introduced him in New Jersey
Nice.
at the New Jersey Vegfest,
Oh,
is where
awesome.
I emceed and introduced Dr. Campbell and Dr. Fuhrman, was
Wow.
that year in 2017, and a whole bunch
Oh,
of other people as well. And
fun.
it is, it's I love them so much. I definitely wanted to have the shout out to the fact that you have joined forces, giving people an easy way to eat and flavorful, like no salt, no oil, no sugar necessary,
Right.
flavorful spices, which matter when it comes to food. If you use too much salt, then you don't taste the other spices, but spices add a lot of flavor. And like we
Right.
said
And
on the show before,
satisfaction, right?
yes, and meat doesn't taste good if you don't flavor it. So it's not the meat
Right.
that you're enjoying, it's the flavors of it, which is why plant-based meats and the mock meats are very popular in the vegan world. It's not the meat that is missed, it's the flavors which we can make
Right.
vegan. Like
Exactly.
over and
And
over and
healthy
over.
vegan.
And
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So that's, I'm really, that was amazing. And for like under $400, you can get 2 sets of blood work
Yeah,
and see a doctor.
you get two full doctor's appointments, and your doctor's appointments don't only have to be about the immersion. They're your appointments. And it does include before and after blood work, so you can really track your progress. And since we have doctors available in all 50 states, it's out there for everyone to participate in, which is fantastic.
Yes.
Responsibly, you know.
Yes, I'm a fan of telehealth. I used it over COVID. I wasn't going into a doctor's office unless I absolutely had to,
Right?
and it's been great. I like Zoom. I'm not zoomed out,
Yeah,
so
that's
I
great.
I
We're
enjoy this
finding there are
time.
articles coming out that are saying people prefer it now for the time savings and for, for a number of reasons. I mean, the other thing it does is it keeps really tight schedules. I don't know how
Yes.
many times I go to the doctor's office and I end up sitting there and I don't get seen by the doctor until maybe even a half hour or 40 minutes after my appointment time. But since they're all being scheduled on the computer and the video starts and then the video stops, like, we're kind of forced to stay on time. So, which
Right.
ends up being much more of a time savings than just the time driving back and forth to the doctor. It really makes for a very efficient appointment. And with the patient portals now, where patients can upload documents before their appointments and fill out their questionnaires, like, it's really close to mimicking the in person doctor patient experience.
Right, just not hands on. Literally
Right.
hands
Yeah.
on.
And we're very diligent about being responsible as far as if you need to be listened to, if you need to have your ears looked at, your throat looked at, then you need to find an in-person doctor to take care of those things. But so much that has to do with lifestyle works really well, just in conversation and in going over blood work together and education, and the doctors really just talking the patients through what kind of changes they need to do and why.
And accountability.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And that's a big deal. So, Anthony, this has been amazing. 'Cause we could just keep going.
Yes.
we just keep going.
Why not?
I know. Sometimes we do. But how do people get in touch with you? I mean, we put the website up, so that's easy,
Thank you.
plantbasedtelehealth.com.
So the other thing we're
And
doing is we're working really hard at plant-based telehealth to grow our social media. So we have an Instagram. It's oh my gosh, what is? I think it.
it's plant-based telehealth.
Okay, we have an
It's
Instagram and a Facebook. They're both plant-based telehealth. I think our Twitter is PB Telehealth, but we don't
Yep.
really use the Twitter much anyway. But our Instagram and our Facebook, we've been working hard to put like a lot of real useful content out there. We include doctor quotes. We do include patient testimonial information there. So we're really trying to make it a valuable resource for people. So I feel like that's the best place to kind of follow. I will chime in on there. Um, my personal Instagram isn't that exciting, but it's a Masiello, AMASIELLO, and it's fun. And there's a mix of things that I find inspiring, like my stories. A lot of time I share kind of positive messages and positive perspectives on life and challenges that I find that I love to share that stuff. And then occasional tidbits from myself, or certainly when I find a new restaurant, especially if it's a national chain or something. And like Red Robins, I think they're around most of the country. Do you know they have bottomless broccoli instead of fries?
I think
Like
so.
they're famous for their bottomless French fries. Like you can get as many, but they also have bottomless broccoli. Like you can get as much broccoli as you want with your meal at Red Robin. You have to ask for no butter. But
Right.
but anyway, so anyway, little things like that I like to share.
That's awesome. That's like
Yeah,
really, it's a really hard choice.
yeah.
Well, I'll get the broccoli, you
Anyway,
get the French fries, and we're
right.
covered.
Exactly.
It's a
So we have
win-win.
everything, and it's
Right.
both bottomless.
I know. Because that's what we need, bottomless
Right.
pit.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Well,
So anyway,
thank
you find
yeah.
me on plant-based telehealth. That's really the most important part. And all of our contact information is on the website. Thank you for sharing the website and the social media posts. And yeah, hope to see people over there.
Yeah, thank you so much for all that you're doing and for sharing your story and you wanting to make a difference. I
Thank
find that
you.
there's a lot of people who take this on and then decide I need to help others. And thank you for doing that because
Yeah.
we need more people like us that want to help and facilitate those changes to change the world.
Exactly. So you're very welcome, and I thank you for doing exactly the same and for helping to share all of these incredible messages from these people and really putting this stuff out there so that it really truly is accessible to everyone. Thanks a lot. And thank you for
Oh,
having me. I'm humbled to be on your show.
oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. I have like why am I vegan? So I'm going to send that to you so you can add your why am I vegan to a new website project
Oh,
that we've created
fantastic.
so that you can be part
Cool.
of that. Nelson's already sent his. So it's like
Nice.
it's really neat. But thank you, thank you, thank you. It's Thursday, so I hope you have a
Yeah, thank you.
fantastic weekend.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Okay. Bye.
Bye bye.
All right, I'm back to black. Oh, thank you, Susan. Thank you for supporting and watching. I don't know who's next week because it's next Thursday and a lot's going to happen between now and next Thursday. Oh, I don't have a talk next week. 4th of July, we're going to the Outer Banks. We're going to be there and I'm going to work from there and the ocean and the Turberts, the Sentient Project. Throw a shout out to Daniel and Laura and family. Have invited us to join them at a house at the Outer Banks in Kerala. Super excited. That's where I'm going to be. Maybe I'll go live from somewhere, but it won't be official. So on the 15th, Laura Crotty is joining us at 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is Broiled Grapefruit. You go follow her social media on Instagram, Broiled Grapefruit. Really cool show that she does, taking like the old and making it kind of modern in regards to cooking and food and recipes. Definitely want to check her out. So thank you again for watching Virtual Vegfest Live and being a part of this. It's July. New contest, virtualvegfest.com. Probably by tomorrow, I'll have that updated, and the winners will get notified via email once I pick them, all 6 of you. And then be kind to one another and be safe. You know, I don't want to keep talking about COVID, but there's this Delta variant thing. So when you're indoors, like I keep supporting this mask thing. Masks are not a bad thing. We need to normalize them, and I love the way it looks with the black background. Let's normalize these so that if you're sick, you have allergies, whatever, it's okay to wear one. I still wear one inside. Steven doesn't. I do. I still don't want to. I'm vaccinated, and we support vaccinations on this channel as well. So just so you know that, I think y'all should get one. It's a much healthier, safer way to live with a thing that can kill you out there. But normalize these mask things because they've saved lives this past year. That's like, there's my soapbox. Have a great rest of your weekend. Have a great 4th of July. Please don't set off fireworks. It really, really upsets my dogs, especially Marshall. He will crawl into my skin on July 4th. And I'm not joking. He will be trying to crawl into my body because of fireworks. So, one of the things going on Facebook right now is just go buy and donate pet food instead of buying fireworks, and they really make a difference. And one of the things, the other things we should normalize is fireworks that don't have sound. But that doesn't change the environmental impact of the fireworks, but it does help with the noise. Just be kind and don't do that. Like it's so easy. So have a great weekend, have a great holiday, and I will see you in a couple of weeks. I'll probably pop on and as a surprise doing something from the Outer Banks so you can see what's going on there. And with Daniel and Laura, because the Sentient Project has a whole bunch of stuff going on with them too. So we'll probably go live and give you an update. And that's a good idea. They don't know it yet, but it'll happen. Have a great Thursday and rest of your week, and make sure to follow Virtual Veg Fest and subscribe on YouTube. Thanks. Bye.